Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Oulton Park, where your afternoon quota of Ginetta racing action is about to get underway with two races back-to-back. The Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship will be followed by the Pro Tire Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship before the GT Academy are back out later on in the afternoon at around about 5:30. It's the third race of the weekend for all three categories, and as I said, we kick that all off with the youngest drivers here at Oulton Park, the Ginetta Juniors, the 14 to 17-year-olds. A real fan favourite championship this is here in the UK. It's generated a big following over the years. It has produced a number of star drivers. If you look at a list of former champions and race winners in Ginetta Junior Racing, it really is a who's who of international motorsport, a championship that harks back to 2005 and has gone through a couple of generations now of Ginettas. The G20s were initially used for a while, and then probably getting on for about 15 years ago now, the G40 Junior was introduced, and that is the car that has carried the Ginetta Junior Championship to newer heights. Making its debut this weekend, though, on the SRO British GT package, and I'm sure warmly received by everyone here at the circuit, and hopefully everyone watching at home as well. The cars have just been released from the grid, ready for what should be an interesting 20-minute race. The first two have both been won by Freddie Slater. He won on Saturday afternoon by 3.2 seconds, but that was really because there was a titanic tussle for second position that delayed the chasing pack, allowed Freddie Slater to break through that slipstream barrier, if you like, to break the toe, and really from that point on could never be caught. Whereas earlier on today, Freddie Slater did not have things all his own way. It was a damp but generally dry track that welcomed them first thing this morning, and Freddie Slater and Hugo Schwarzer had a really entertaining battle for the win, being reeled in all the time by this car, the number 21 of Alicia Parmovsky, who got her first podium of the season in third place, and that is where she will line up for our third and final race of the weekend. The grid for this one is decided based upon the results from race number 2. So Freddie Slater, the race winner, will start from pole. Hugo Schwartz alongside him, and Hugo made a good start in the earlier race, so could be one to watch for. Charlie Hart looked as though he was going to lead in the early stages of race 2, got to the outside of the pole sitter Slater into Old Hall Corner, but then got sort of squeezed out a bit, and Hugo Schwartz was straight up the inside and managed to steal second place away. And then from that point on, Charlie Hart really was at the centre of an almighty squabble for fourth position between himself, Finn Harrison, Reza Sirurathan. Mackenzie Douglas was in there as well. Mackenzie completing a brilliant 3-wide pass on the grass going into Lodge Corner in the mid part of that second race. And that was just one of many close quarters moments around what is a narrow, undulating and now wet track. The weather, if you've been following the racing from Oulton Park today, you will know has been extremely changeable. We had the one dry race, which was the junior race this morning. It then rained very, very heavily before our first British GT action of the day, during which we had, I think, 4 seasons in 60 minutes. It was sunny for a bit, it started to dry out, then it got wet again, and it was torrential rain by the end, and that rain's sort of been passing through intermittently ever since then. The track conditions, though, I would say now are the best they've been since the rain first came this morning. It's definitely still a wet track, but with quite a few drier patches now. We'll see on this green flag lap exactly what the conditions are like around the circuit. We will likely have 2 green flag laps, I would have thought, as well, if the track is wet enough to be classed as a change of conditions from earlier on today. We shall wait and see. So the Ginetta G56 safety car leads the field around in the following order. Freddie Slater, the race double race winner so far this weekend, starts from pole position. Hugo Schwarzer, the German, alongside him on row number 1. Alicia Parmovsky looking for another podium, maybe a race win, will start from third alongside Finn Harrison, who will be the top rookie runner on the grid. Charlie Hart and Reza Sirurathan are next, another couple of rookies making up row number 2 of the grid, ahead of Mackenzie Douglas and Chase Fernandez together on row number 4. Row 5 for Tom Spragg and Mikey Porter, another 2 rookies. The vast majority of the field actually are rookies, and in fact Freddie Slater is indeed the highest placed of those rookies on the overall pole position. Leo Robinson and Luca Hopkinson, one of the few drivers with some Ginetta Junior experience prior to this weekend, coming off the outside of row 6. Eddie Robinson and Harry Moss are next on the 7th row of what is hopefully an 18-car grid. Felix Livesey and Bray Anglis are next. Then we will find on the back row together Ollie Mayle and Freddie Allen, who had a troubling race early on today, I think it's fair to say. Had a couple of moments, eventually became the race's only retirement. And hoping Scott should finish this time around, Freddie, having just missed out on a top 10 in race 1. He was 12th in race 1, so be hoping that he had top 10 pace in this one. Now, that rain that I spot on the windscreen of Alicia Parmovsky's car, yes it is, so everything I just said about how the track conditions were improving again, perhaps about to go out of the window. Now, every time it's rained so far today, it has rained with some real meaning, and the track has become waterlogged very quickly. Let's hope that this is just a passing shower. Looking out of the commentary box windows, it looks brighter than it has done for a little while, but no, the rain is coming down reasonably heavily up at the pit lane end of the circuit, which is the part of the track that the drivers are heading to now. They're not going to have a second green flag lap, though, interestingly. So, despite now this incoming rain, it is going to be simply straight into the race. Of course, these cars running on Michelin road tyres, they did go through a number of years, Ginetta Juniors, of running on slicks, which would have made this a real head-scratcher as far as what to do, but they're all on grooved tyres now, which gives them less grip in the dry. I prefer that, personally, because I think it really teaches the drivers a lot more about car control and managing that grip level, keeping the momentum up through the corners. And it also takes away the difficult decision when you've got changeable conditions like these as far as what tyres to go on. So the number 7 car, Freddie Slater, on the pole position. Hugo Schwarzer alongside him is the white and black striped car, with the yellow and black elite motorsport car of Alicia Parmovsky coming off the inside of row number 2. The red lights are on when they go out. We're away in racing for 20 minutes for the final time this weekend in the Ginetta Juniors, and it's another good start made by the pole sitter. Parmovsky was away well too and is trying to squeeze up the inside almost into the pit wall. Fantastic stuff from Alicia Parmovsky. She's got the inside line to Old Hall corner and will lead the field exiting the first turn. Amazing getaway, that sideways, and side by side there's a spin in the middle of the pack. 2 or 3 cars are off the road. This could be a sizable shunt if we're not careful. Could have been a lot worse actually. Charlie Hart is one of the cars off. I think I spotted Mackenzie Douglas going around too, and several others scattering in avoidance, so chaos at the first corner, but Alicia Parmovsky has got the lead. Brilliant stuff. Second place is Freddie Slater. Schwarzer is there in 3rd. Finn Harrison sits in 4th position as they make their way into Island Bend for the first time. Now, will we require a safety car, I wonder, because we had a number of cars off the road. They may have been able to pick themselves up and get going again. We'll have to wait and see. There, the number 19 car looking to the outside line. That is Mikey Porter from 10th on the grid. He picked his way through that masterfully to get into the top 5. Windscreen wipers still on intermittently, but that rain has sort of disappeared now at this end of the track. The sunshine replacing it, suggesting that maybe that was just a brief shower. Over the hill they will go. 78 there is Reza Sirurathan. He was delayed in the turn 1 shunt, which has resulted in an early safety car. So clearly there is at least one car stranded still at the roadside. And so we'll neutralise the race. No overtaking. The safety car boards go out all around the track along with the yellow flags. That tells the drivers that they must slow down to a reasonable speed and sit single file with no overtaking and overlapping. So that is the 16 car, I think, isn't it, of Tom Spragg. He, I think, collected the spinning Charlie Hart, but there were 2 or 3 separate incidents. There was one car which I think was Douglas, Mackenzie Douglas, who went around and came back into the pack, but there had already been some contact, and some of it involved Freddie Slater and perhaps Hugo Schwarzer. I'm sure we'll get another look at that, but there was quite a lot going on all at the same time through that first corner. And unfortunately, on a damp track, a bit of over-exuberance thrown in for good measure, we ended up with cars pointing the wrong way. So the hard-working British Marshals, who have been stuck out there in all weathers today, will spring into action to get the errant cars moved out of the way. Who doesn't come through then? Charlie Hart hasn't got here yet, nor Tom Spragg, we know, and the other one we're missing is number 48, Luca Hopkinson, and that is Luca's car. No, that's Charlie's car. Is that up against the barriers? I think that's Charlie Hart. We can see Spragg's car, the white, blue and yellow machine. Where the third car's gone, I'm not so sure. No, that is Hopkinson, beg your pardon. So it's Charlie Hart's car. Oh, that has just come into the pit lane. So Charlie Hart has got going. So it's two cars that need recovering. Charlie Hart, the car crabbing into the pit lane, I can tell you. It looks like, again, a lovely spring day up at Island Bend. Track is dry, sun is shining. But at this end of the circuit, it's still a lot greyer and a little bit of drizzle in the air. So, action-packed, shall we call the start of that race. Here are a few replays to try and piece it all together. So Alicia Parmowski absolutely nails the start, finds a Ginetta G40-sized gap up the inside line. It was not a bad start from Freddie Slater. Parmowski just absolutely nailed it, got to the inside. Here we are on board, and she knew exactly where she was going. Look, the second the lights went out, the steering wheel went to the right, she fired herself into the gap, and then full commitment in the wet. Look, you can see the rain was coming down at this point, and didn't miss a beat. Went straight through into the race lead. It was behind her that the action was starting. A little bit of wing mirror bashing maybe she went through, but that was just a really good start. But watch behind. I think it's the 38 car of Finn Harrison's going to get lent on by Hugo Schwartz. Schwartz gets sideways, but they carry on. Around goes Mackenzie Walker. He spins back into the pack. The 51 car had a rotation too. That was Edu Robinson. But then there was the separate incident behind that took a couple of others out. There, look, goes Tom Spragg out wide. Hasn't got any damage yet. Oh, no, that's Spragg, excuse me. So the other identically liveried car that got into the side of the spinning Charlie Hart. Two cars stranded at the side of the road. The safety car needing to be scrambled at the end of the opening lap. So, behind the pace car then, Alicia Parmowski with an absolutely excellent start. Is your early race leader, Freddie Slater in second. Third, Hugo Schwarzer. Fourth for Finn Harrison, which is where he started. Fifth place then for Porter. Harrison is the only driver, look, who hasn't gained or lost positions on the first lap of racing. Shows you what a jumbled start it was. Porter up 5. Further back, the 31 car, which was Felix Livesey, who retired on Saturday in race number 1. He's gained 7 spots from his starting position. Always winners and losers, I suppose, in those situations. And as the marshals begin their clean-up work in earnest, we can enjoy the super slow-mo shot from the Britain chicane. Absolutely in love with this shot, especially when we've got the G40s out on track, either in the juniors or the GT5s. Who's that? That was Finn Harrison. All 4 wheels in the air, and then fully commits to the apex through the right-hander as well. That is absolutely brilliant camera work up there. You can see the cars bouncing on the suspension, bit of oversteer there, and opposite lock for required for the 31 machine. But Felix Livesey gained all of those places. Great stuff, as always, from the Ginetta Juniors, who never lack for commitment, do they? That's the one thing you can say about the junior racers. And the 16 car, oh, now that's done quite a lot of damage, hasn't it? I think they've taken the front bodywork off to assist with the recovery, but the radiator has been knocked loose, the left front suspension is destroyed. I'm pretty sure it was this car that was clobbered by that. Jake Hill watching on as Charlie Hart has his car assessed. Jake Hill, British touring car race winner these days. Another 2 have come through the ranks of Ginetta Junior Racing. Did not manage to win the championship. It was, I want to say, Dino Zamparelli who won it in the year that Jake Hill was a contender. Zamparelli was the champion back in 2008. But you look again down that list, you've got touring car stars such as Tom Ingram and Jack Mitchell, who have come through the Ginetta Junior ranks. GT racing stars as well, Seb Morris and Jamie Caroline, Wilfred Goethe, James Headley, who these days is doing single-seater racing. He's been out in the GB3 Championship earlier on in the day. So the Ginetta Juniors are always a really popular addition to the British GT, or the any race meeting, new to British GT, of course, for this year. Of course, one driver who did not win the Junior Championship overall, but was a rookie champion back in 2014, was one Lando Norris, McLaren Formula One racer. Doesn't matter whether you want a career in GTs, sports cars, open wheel, touring cars, the Ginetta Junior is kind of the perfect car to teach you about all of that. It's a vaguely sort of GT-esque shape to the car. It's rear wheel drive as well, which certainly will teach you a lot about handling cars in wet conditions. But we have seen drivers transition into this from karting very successfully in the past and then go on to enjoy success in all walks of motorsport. Umbrella's going back up again, I'm led to believe, at parts of the track, although ironically up near the commentary box, the umbrellas have gone away. So certain areas of the Oulton Park circuit developing its own microclimate. As I say that, the rain does now return up at the pit lane area. Far end of the track, it really doesn't look all that bad though, does it? It's one of the real challenges on a day like this. It's not a consistent set of conditions around the whole track, and drivers are sort of having to guess every time they commit to a corner, and you really have to commit to the corners here at Oulton Park. You are second guessing exactly what sort of grip levels you're going to have when you get there. There is the 24 car, that is Mackenzie Douglas, of course, who we saw spinning. That car's had a chunk taken out of the front bodywork, but other than that, looks okay. He'll be hoping for a quick resumption of this race, because Douglas should have the pace to gain a few places. There is the Tom Sprague car being pulled away, as Douglas almost does some more damage to his car by running into the back of Edu Robinson out of Britain's. But I'm hopeful that they can get the Tom Sprague car and the recovery truck on which it sits out of the way pretty quickly, because there is an access road at the bottom of the hill at Cascades that the truck can pull into. And that should mean that we get racing back underway at the end of this lap with just under half the race to go. Shame that we've had to sit behind the safety car for a little while in this one. Had a safety car, and indeed it was a shortened, in fact it was a red flag shortened race on Saturday. Lights are out now on the pace car, so we are going to get racing back underway. And Alicia Palmowski, having made a brilliant start, now needs to try and defend from the double race winner so far this weekend. On board with Palmowski. And let's listen and watch on board to see when she chooses to hit the loud pedal and get this race back underway. Waiting, now hits the throttle, and does well to control the wheel spin as well up through the gears. But look at that, the number 7 car of Freddie Slater right on his tail, her tail, excuse me, as they go across the line. Palmowski to the inside. Is Slater going to try and go right round the outside? Has to be careful though, because Hugo Schwarzer is there as well. Full commitment from Freddie Slater. What a move this will be if it pays off. He's on the damp side of the road. He's out on the curb. The car slides sideways. Palmowski coming back at him as they go down towards Cascades for the second time at full racing speed. And Freddie Slater will have the inside line. Hugo Schwarzer trying to go with him as well. Palmowski needs to try and get back in line, which she does, and she now will have the slipstream on the R Racing car going down the Lakeside straight. To the inside goes Slater to cover, and Palmowski, you can see that toe starting to take effect as she tries to get an overlap into the really quick left-hander at Ireland. Slightly cold tyres now, having been sat behind the safety car for a few laps. They're all wriggling their way towards the Shell hairpin. Schwartz on the outside line, looking for a good momentum off the turn. Meanwhile, good battle further back. That's the 31 car of Felix Livesey, running a little bit wide in his defence of that position. As they turn towards Britain's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them together, and a car off in the background. That's Livesey, isn't it? Who we just saw bouncing over the grass. And it is the 31 car, and this might now be Felix's second non-finish of the weekend if he's done any damage to that car. Gets back on the road, but surely the underside of that car is not in one piece. Down towards Hislops we go. Big lunge further back. That's the 78 making a demon move on the brakes into the Hislop chicane. And Reza Sirurathan is the man who just picked the pocket there of Leo Robinson's number 37. And that was for 7th place. And immediately he is on the tail of Chase Fernandez as they crest Clay Hill, with 7 and a bit minutes to go. So race leader starting now to make a break, Freddie Slater. And Hugo Schwarzer, who was every bit as quick as Freddie in race 1, will want to try and clear Palmowski as quickly as possible. He's looking to the inside. There's lots of mud that's been kicked up in the face of the 33 car at some point on this lap. As there, the number 90 car pulls to the outside line of Chase Fernandez, unable for the time being to make that move stick. So across the line we go then, racing well and truly back underway. What a brilliant bit of overtaking that was, though, from Freddie Slater. He's led from the front in both of the earlier two races, but proved there that even if he loses track position, he's more than capable of getting it back. Screeching of tyres further back, but everyone, I think, got through Old Hall cleanly. We've had one car heading into the pit lane just now, and I think that was Livesey after that grassy moment at Britain's. Yes, it was. Felix Livesey appears to be out of the race. Lead pack descends upon Island Bend again. And it really is now about this battle for second place on a virtually bone-dry track. It's really drying quickly today when we get a bit of a respite from the drizzle. Alicia Parmovsky has her hands full of Hugo Schwarzer behind. Second and third places making their way towards the Britain chicane. Elite Motorsport teammates, these two, and they've got the well, a couple of our racing cars behind, split by the Assetto Motorsport car of Finn Harrison, number 38. Down the hill, on the brakes into Britain's. Anyone going into Hislops, anyone going to lunge up the inside? Not in that lead group. There is a half look to the inside for Chase Fernandez, who's still stuck behind Leo Robinson. Can't quite find a way past the Ali Rushforth prepared car. As they head uphill towards Druids. They're actually being caught here, aren't they, by Freddie Allen behind, and Mackenzie Douglas, who of course is recovering after that turn one spin. There's a blue car at the back of that second pack of cars. One to watch, and I think he's just gained a place actually on Allen going into Druids corner. Second place, defensive move from Parmovsky, and that sort of boxes Hugo Schwarzer in, and almost allowed Finn Harrison to get an overlap there. Over the hill into Old Hall corner, and again Schwarzer looks to the outside line. That's a really tough move to make. Not necessarily trying to go right around the outside in the fashion that Freddie Slater did before, but really looking to try and carry speed off the corner, down the avenue, through the kink at Denton's, and maybe have a lunge up the inside into Cascades corner. He was sorely tempted, wasn't he? But it's a difficult move to pull off cleanly. That contact is always possible. And thought better of it. Not a great exit there for Finn Harrison. And so now the car behind him, number 78, Riza Sirurathan, is starting to ask some questions of the Assetto racing car as they descend upon the Shell hairpin for the 7th time. Sirurathan's got the fastest lap as well, 2:03.795, compares to the race early today. It was a 2:02.5 was the fastest lap, so we're a second and a bit away from that, showing that the track conditions still aren't perfect. Great progress made on this lap by Mackenzie Douglas. Look, he's into 8th place now. Cleared this whole pack in just over half a lap. Good stuff. But now can he bridge the gap to the leading group of 6? It's a gap in the region of 3 seconds, and he's only got 3.5 minutes to do it, so it's unlikely, especially given the fact that the front bodywork is extremely loose on that 24 car. Not slowing him down though. Hurls his way through the Hislop chicane. Adam Nickelbrook back up the hill, already starting to gap Fernandez, who is still ahead of Robinson and Allen. Nose to tail though for second position through the double apex right-hander at Druids. And is this where Hugo Schwarzer makes the move? Close enough perhaps to throw one up the inside into the braking zone. Peaks to the inside, but Parmovsky's late on the brakes. Carries good speed through, but that was a bit too much speed. She missed the apex, and Schwarzer's definitely got a run now as they go down through the dip. Almost touching, look, as they go over the crest of the hill at Deer Leap. And surely Alicia is going to have to defend the inside line. Yes, she does. To the outside will go Hugo Schwarzer, the penultimate lap of racing beginning. And still Alicia Parmovsky defending beautifully, but she's sideways, saves it. Somehow, brilliant car control and good reaction from Schwarzer as well, who I'm sure had to breathe off the throttle there to avoid running into the back of his teammate. He looks to the inside again at Cascades corner, but Parmovsky has already managed to compose herself and keeps him at arm's length. That was a really close call there. Both drivers doing a good job to avoid a collision at high speed that would have potentially ended both of their races. Always a slightly awkward situation when you're battling a teammate for a position like this. The slightest wrong move and it could lead to a very awkward race debrief in the truck. Especially at this level where, of course, all of the drivers are paying to be here, so they're all as entitled as each other to go for it. But you've just got to be careful not to get too close out on circuit. Again, they abuse the suspension over the curves. Not a great exit there from Schwarzer. He clipped that third apex curb, and that just caused a bit of a hiccup in acceleration, didn't it? And so now Finn Harrison looks to the outside. Schwarzer, I thought, was actually committing to a move on Parmovsky there. But I think it was more moving to the inside to cover from Harrison behind. Sewurathan still a part of this battle as well, and they're maybe just now starting to drop Mikey Porter. Porter, who's had a 5th yesterday, a 10th in race 2, so I think this is a better showing from him, closer to the sort of pace we should expect to see from him through the rest of the season. Schwarzer could not be any closer to the leader. Is this gap between 1st and 2nd coming down? I think it might be, you know, despite the fact that this almighty battle going on for 2nd, and again Parmovsky is defending the inside. Outside line on the way in for Schwarzer, doesn't quite turn into the inside line on the way out, and in fact he might have to go to the inside, not to attack, but to defend from Finn Harrison as we begin the final lap of racing this weekend for the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Alicia Parmovsky on the inside, but to the outside is going Finn Harrison. Again, doesn't want to commit to the damp, sketchy side of the road, gets a bit of a slide on. Here comes Sewurathan, and actually Sewurathan's found some room, has he? He's got 2 wheels on the grass, but he's got the inside line down into Cascades Corner. How brave is he on the brakes? Very brave is the answer, and despite having surely dirty tyres down the left-hand side, he moves through into 4th. Great opportunistic driving that from the youngster. And is this the rain coming back? I think it is. This time it's arriving at the top end of the circuit. It is absolutely pouring it down at Island Bend, and this is going to be a real challenge now for the drivers as they commit to the fastest corner on the track and suddenly find themselves enjoying significantly less grip than they've had so far through the race. Variety of lines being taken through the Shell hairpin, and of course Freddie Slater is the first driver to arrive into every corner and discover exactly how much or little grip there may be. Alicia Parmovsky can gauge her entry speed off the car ahead, and I think she's using that to close in now. In the first sector, she was a 10th quicker than the race leader. Oh no, she's got around. Parmovsky has a spin. Oh, what a shame going out of the Britain chicane. Alicia Parmovsky has lost control, and the slippery conditions and perhaps that possibility of a race victory just became a bit too much in the end. Finn Harrison leaning on the number 19 car as they headed through Hislop's there of Mikey Porter. That is now the battle for 4th position, of course, because Schwarzer inherits 2nd. Off has gone Chase Fernandez at the Shell hairpin. Not a huge surprise, given the inclement conditions that they were facing at that part of the circuit, which now are making their way back towards us at the end of the lap. Freddie Slater suddenly has a much bigger lead than he had beforehand. And it's going to be over Hugo Schwarzer in 2nd position. 3rd place, I think, is going to go the way then of Reza Sewurathan, having gained a couple of positions on this final lap. Out of Lodge Corner comes Freddie Slater, though, and after a very challenging race with mixed conditions, it is a 3rd win out of 3 races for Freddie Slater, and R Racing will celebrate once again. Elite Motorsport only get 1 car on the podium in the end, thanks to Hugo Schwarzer in 2nd, and Reza Sewurathan gets his 1st podium in Ginetta Junior competition. Harrison 4th, Porter 5th, Douglas 6th, then Robinson, Allen and Parmovsky 9th after that final lap spin. Good battling going on further back, and a last-ditch attempt up the inside, and there's going to be contact, and there are wing mirrors going flying, and that's the 84 of Bray Anglish barging up the inside of Harry Moss at the final turn. That will spark a conversation after the race, I'm sure. There was a gap, in fairness, there was a gap on the inside, and I don't think either of them wanted to relinquish that place. So Anglis steals 11th at the final turn. Holly Mile will come through as potentially the last runner, because we lost Fernandez on the last lap. Livesey to the pit lane, Hart to the pit lane, and Spragg and Hopkinson were out on lap 1. So yes, that is just the 13 finishes, and look at the rain. It is back with a vengeance up at the Shell hairpin. That's going to make life very interesting in our next race, which is for the Pro Tire Motorsport Ginetta GT Championship. So more Ginetta action on the way here from Oulton Park. Freddie Slater will be making the return journey home with 3 race-winning trophies. Fantastic effort from him to kickstart his championship campaign. So lots to unpack after the final few laps of that race. Alicia Parmovsky was chasing after the race leader Freddie Slater. As the rain started to pour on the final lap, it looked as though Parmovsky might have a crack at the race win. She was pushing hard right at the end of the race. Even in the torrential rain, they're still hammering those curbs through Britain's. Armfuls of opposite lock to control the cars on landing. And then as they pan through to the left, look at that. Brilliant stuff there, completely sideways in mid-air for Reza Sarurathan, who looked there like he was about to lose a place, but actually Finn Harrison not able to pull alongside because he had a faceful of a spinning Alicia Parmovsky. This is what happened. Hits that second curb. Oh, hits the third curb too hard. Around it goes. And that curb, we've seen how much it disrupts the momentum off the corner, more so probably than the other 2 curbs at that chicane. And if you hit it at really the wrong angle, then you can create a bit of rear wheel spin, especially in the wet. And that, I think, is what happened there. So Alicia Parmovsky, unfortunately, has to settle for 9th place at the end of what was a really good race for her up until that point. So cars making their way back to Parc Fermé. The Ginetta Juniors will next be out on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit on the 6th and 7th of May as part of the British GT Silverstone 500 event, where Freddie Slater will arrive as the championship leader after 3 race victories here at Oulton Park. Hugo Schwartz is 2nd, Reza Sarurathan is 3rd, ahead of Finn Harrison, and 5th place in that 3rd race of the weekend for Mikey Porter. Then 6th place, Mackenzie Douglas, not bad after that first corner spin. Then it was Robinson, Allen, Parmovsky 9th after her last lap spin, and Eddie Robinson completing the top 10. Ray Anglish was 11th, ahead of Moss and Mile, and then the non-finishers. Chase Fernandez was in the gravel at Shell on the final lap. We lost to the pit lane, the number 31 of Felix Livesey, his 2nd non-finish of the weekend, whilst Charlie Hart, Tom Spragg and Luca Hopkinson are all victims of the first corner shenanigans in slippery conditions. Action always expected in the early stages, and sadly we did lose 3 of the potentially quickest drivers on the grid. Certainly looking at the pace that the likes of Charlie Hart had shown earlier in the weekend. I think he'll be very disappointed actually with the results he's walking away with. Had a 2nd on Saturday, but 5th in race number 2. Should probably have been a couple more podiums to boot, really. Fastest lap, by the way, went to Reza Sarurathan in 3rd, which was in the end a 2:03.7, but of course that came on the penultimate lap. The conditions on the final lap meant that they were lapping some 9 seconds slower than that on the final tour of the Oulton Park International Circuit. So, Ginetta Junior action here at Oulton Park. Let's recap everything that happened in that 3rd and final race. Well, the action began right from the first corner. In fact, before that, really, as Alicia Parmovsky made a demon start from 3rd on the grid. The 2nd phase of the start, particularly as she changed into 2nd gear, allowed her to squeeze up the inside of double race winner Freddie Slater to get the advantage into Old Hall Corner. The action then started to kick off behind them. They were 4 wide at one point into turn 1. Some contact was inevitable, and there it was. Mackenzie Douglas getting spat sideways. Charlie Hart would then get involved in secondary contact with Tom Spragg as others scattered onto the grass in avoidance. After a brief safety car period, the restart was the decisive moment, really, as Freddie Slater wasted no time in going around the outside of Alicia Parmovsky for the lead. Sideways up the curb out of Old Hall Corner he went. Parmovsky tried to fight back at Cascades, but as the onboard view will show, she wasn't quite able to squeeze back into the lead. Through went Slater, and then Parmovsky had her hands full trying to keep Hugo Schwartz behind, and it was that battle for 2nd place that kept us entertained for much of the 2nd half of the race. Schwartz had tried absolutely everything to get through. Thought that he'd forced the decisive mistake out of Parmovsky there. In the end, though, that mistake came on the final lap as Alicia, in ever worsening conditions, was chasing down the race leader, hit the curb too hard at the exit of the Britain chicane. Around she went, facing oncoming traffic, lucky to be avoided. That meant that Freddie Slater had a relatively unchallenged run to the race victory. 3 race wins from 3 to snatch the early championship lead in the Michelin Ginetta Junior Championship. Freddie Slater, a successful day at Oulton Park.